Hello, everyone, and welcome back to this is Love Your Vibe, the Love Your Vibe podcast, and our topic for today is vibing with plenty. When I started to think about these titles, one of the things that occurred to me is like, how can I implement vibration into everything? Because, as I teach over and over, it just reaffirms, and I want everybody else to kind of be aware of, if they're not aware of it, everything has a vibrational match. So how can we put vibration in every one of these podcasts that we do? And perfect enough, I get the idea to put vibing in a lot of the titles. So you'll kind of see a lot of that here in the future. But anyway, just to get right into it, today we're talking about plenty, and you may know this as abundance, you may know it as wealth, whatever it is. The first thing I want you to know is that it's so much more than tangible material substance. Okay? That is probably the most important thing you have to realize before you prepare yourself to not only make, let's say, a ton of money or a ton of wealth, but to be able to have the peace of mind and the mental strength and capacity to be able to handle it. Okay? Because ultimately, what we want to accomplish today is to help you to find a peace of mind that will enable you to be able to maneuver and work with money in a way that is not a detriment to yourself. And you may say, wait, well, how is money a detriment to yourself? Well, I got a few instances for you, and trust that when I'm teaching, I'm learning myself, and it's usually a reiteration for me as well. So if you've ever been at a place in time to where you are owed money and you feel like somebody's supposed to give you money and you're hard out to try and get what you feel like is owed to you, then you're not in what we call an abundant vibration, okay? And so we want to get you to that point, because what we want you to realize is that we do live in an abundant universe. We do live in a place and an atmosphere to where money, needs, things, circumstances, places, whatever it is that you're trying to manifest can come from a million different channels. That's how beautiful God is. That's how beautiful the universe works, is that it doesn't have to come the same old way that it usually does. And what's hard is, sometimes when we have a job, we feel like our pay has to come from that job. And so what that does is that shuts off our antennas, if you will, our spiritual antennas of the other channels that want to allow money to come into our lives that way. And so we become so hard up on this job to provide our income, whereas if we go in one day and we get a pay cut and, God forbid we go in and we get fired or something happens, then all of a sudden it's like our source is cut off. But the truth of the matter is, our source is not cut off. It's just that channel is cut off. And so what I want you once again to get to the point of knowing, of realizing with all your heart, all your fiber, all your being, that there's a higher power. There's a higher power at work that is geared, and revved up towards meeting not only every need that you have, but every desire. And that's how we get to the place of vibing with plenty, because we have faith. And faith is the thing. It's not necessarily just belief. Faith is that thing where you step out with absolute 110% conviction that you are going to be taken care of. You don't know how, but the great thing is you don't have to know how. One of the great thought leaders on the concept of prosperity, Marilyn Jeanette, who has a great book, Feel Free to Prosper is the name of it. But she says this phrase, forget the how and enjoy the wow. right? Forget the how, enjoy the wow. We get into trouble because we need to figure out how something is going to happen, how something is going to take place. And to give you an example as to, what this looks like to be in a place to where you are vibrating on the level of abundance that is in complete cohesion with the universal power that we're exposed to. Let's put it this way. So, as a matter of fact, I got an example for you. I was training, or have been training for a long time, and there's times where, I'm meeting up with different clients, and I am, scheduled sometimes to even, receive payments from them on certain dates, and I get to that day, and then all of a sudden that person cancels, or that person has a reason why they can't pay, and then all of a sudden it seems like it's a dire situation, and it seems like things won't work out. But what I do is I take a step back. And one thing that will get you through everything is when you know that God, or the universe, like whatever you choose to call it, that higher power has your back throughout everything. That higher power says, you know what? Don't get so fixated on the channel that you forget who the source is. This is how you vibe with plenty. You may not have gotten the few $100s from that person that you were expecting, but I've got something much better in play for you. All you have to do is trust, one, and then my next concept is just about becoming or being at peace. Now, to understand what our where we want to get to as far as in reference to wealth, where we want to be from not only a spiritual standpoint, but a mental standpoint, you have to know that nothing happens. And when I say happens, nothing manifests until we are completely at peace, right? See, people think that there'll be times where they'll get happy when certain things arrive. And the truth of the matter is it's the other way around. We don't have to see it to believe it. We've got to believe it to see it. And we've got to not only believe it, we've got to step out in faith and know that we can be happy without that thing. Because when you decide that everything you need to be happy is on the inside of you, you resonate a vibration of being completely fulfilled. And then you know what has to happen after that? Everything on the outside of you has to line up. Everything on the outside of you has to reflect that. So that's why that is so important to remember, that you come from a place of peace. You come from a place of gratitude. You come from a place of being completely fulfilled in every capacity. And that energy carries itself out. That energy will find that situation, that existence, that circumstance that will match up with your feeling. And it's just that simple. So much of self-help and self-transformation is geared towards complexing, just making it so difficult for people to the point where they get frustrated and then they give up, and they become distraught and depressed about what's not happening, when in actuality, it's just that easy. So when you vibe with something, and Esther Hicks is a big advocate of this. When you're vibing with something, you're feeling it. You're within the process of that thing stirring itself up, that thing creating energy that will eventually create a physical manifestation. So you just have to focus on that. You just have to focus on having faith, because what will happen, and we talked about being at peace, but what will happen when we start to create that faith and we start to know, we start to be able to have that level of expectancy that the things that we desire will come, it will create peace for you. You will be in such a place of peace to where it will be easy for you to detach, because why? You're already experiencing the feeling of having it. And that is where the beauty comes from, because when you already feel like you got it, that means it's already created, it already exists, and it's making its way to you.